So, story time. So, when I was about 19 years old, I participated in a local election in my hometown. Now, at the polling place, I was met with a number of supporters from the Republican and the Democratic candidates. As somebody new to the election process, I found the experience somewhat surreal and pretty jarring. I didn't know that people were going to accost me on my way to vote for candidates that I had already researched. On my way in, I met a friend from high school. He was really more of a high school proximity associate. He was there campaigning for a candidate, and I don't remember who his candidate was, but after he gave me his talking points, he stepped back and said, "Oh yeah, and he's pro-life." See, my friend knew I was Catholic. I had a pretty dramatic conversion experience during high school, and I was pretty vocal about my Catholicity. And he knew that Catholics valued pro-life issues before anything else, especially when it came to voting. So I looked at my friend and I said, "Oh, he's pro-life. So where does he stand on the death penalty?" "Oh, he supports it." "Okay, but what about euthanasia?" I'm actually not sure." "Okay, well, what about the war in Iraq? Does he support that?" "Yes, 100%. And I continue to go down a list of life issues that Catholics value, and at the end I looked at my friend and said, "Oh, well, your candidate's not really pro-life, he's just anti-abortion." To which my friend grumbled and said, "Well, yeah, that's what pro-life means." So I smiled and went on my way, and I didn't vote for that candidate. And here's what I've come to realize about any type of dialogue that a Catholic can have with a non-Catholic. Even though we speak the same language, we have a very different vocabulary. Now, this is especially true whenever we speak of any theological issue at all. For instance, Catholics have very different understandings of things like salvation, justification, predestination, atonement, and a number of other different things from our non-Catholic brethren. The problem is we're using the same words to talk about different things. The differences are even more pronounced when we're using political language. In this case specifically, being pro-life means something different than what the Catholic Church understands. Pro-life in political language typically only means anti-abortion or pro-birth. And I know this because of how a particular political party defines it on their own website. And for a Catholic, this understanding of what it means to be pro-life is a very narrow definition. Because the Church uses a broader understanding of the term pro-life. You see, for us, to be pro-life encompasses all life issues. So when we talk about being pro-life, we mean upholding the dignity and sanctity of all human life from the moment of conception to the moment of natural death. So that covers all of the issues that involve human dignity at any given moment in time. So issues like abortion, euthanasia, war, capital punishment, poverty, eugenics, unemployment, human trafficking, the family, immigration, marriage, maternity and paternity leave for parents. All of those issues are pro-life issues. So when we hold up signs that say life is precious, we're not just talking about babies, although abortion carries the most moral weight in this discussion. When we say life is precious, and when we say we're talking about pro-life issues, we're also talking about you. We're talking about everyone. And we're talking about how that life deserves to be upheld and defended against any and all injustices. Side note, and even though Becky and I are infertile right now, I still believe that there has to be a better way to protect new parents than by making them take disability leave to take care of their newborn children. I think mandated maternity and paternity leave should actually be a thing, but that's another issue. Our understanding of what it means to be pro-life is to ensure that the sanctity and dignity of all human life is to be upheld. But there are even some nuances there. Like within Catholic circles, you can have legitimate disagreement on things like capital punishment, but that's a separate issue that I'm not going to go into here. We can even disagree on some prudential judgments that the state has every right to enforce, like immigration. The church would agree that the state has every right to secure its borders. In fact, the USCCB issued a document saying exactly that. And I agree with them. However, when it comes to matters of how that legislation is enforced, we must ask the question if that enforcement is consistent with a pro-life ethic that upholds human dignity. Which is why in that same document from the USCCB we see statements like this. So a general question can be asked. Is the dignity and sanctity of each human life being upheld in the state's enforcement of its laws? Is it consistent for us to say that we hold children, family, and motherhood as something sacrosanct, but then in the same breath say that it is good, right, and just that children are torn away from the arms of their mothers? Is it morally consistent to say in one breath, well, the law is the law and we have to enforce it, but then in the next breath say, well, that law is unjust and we need to do everything in our power to change it? So, some clarifications need to be made. I'm obviously not saying that Catholics are absolutely not pro-life. In fact, I'm saying the complete opposite. The church is as pro-life as it gets. I'm saying that the church is not pro-life in the political, secular understanding of the term, especially as it's defined on a particular party's website. The Catholic Church is so pro-life that our notions of human dignity and human rights are so radical that they don't seem to fit anywhere in the current American political landscape. Is it too liberal? Is it too conservative? You tell me. I'm also saying that if people are asking me to put my politics before my faith, politics are going to lose every single time. My faith comes first. And when it comes to pro-life issues, I will stand with the church. So Steve the Missionary has a really good episode out on this that you can go check out. Come back, Steve, we miss you. And I like how he proposes the Catholic view of what it means to be pro-life. Now, I'm sure we would probably disagree on some subjects and some applications of the law, but I really like how he approaches the seamless garment argument here. I'm also going to link some reading material for everybody in the description box below for what the Catholic Church has to say about these issues. So if you want to fact check anything I'm saying, please do that. Then look at the sources I'm citing. They're from official magisterial documents straight from the Vatican and from the USCCB. And I'm not trying to get into a political debate. I'm trying to look at what the Catholic Church objectively teaches and then how we apply those moral teachings within our understandings of the United States Constitution. So yeah, this was tough.